Hey, it's Clayton Olson. In this video, we're going to talk about the 3 unconventional avoidant insights I'm going to share with you from my own personal experience of being a recovering avoidant, as well as years of coaching in this field of working with people, helping them develop deeper, securely attached places to come from in their life and relationships, both from the perspective of people that have been more on the anxious polarity that are in relationship with avoidance, and also working directly with avoidants that come to me who want to create a relationship that lasts. Perhaps they've had a string of failed ones behind them and they just really want to learn how they can become more empowered and clear and an agent of creating change in the relationship. So I'm going to dive into these. These are ones that I don't often hear talked about. We're going to dive into the origins. But the main reason I want to make this video is because I think the more that we can understand these attachment styles, the more that you can understand what is actually going on under the surface for an avoidant, the more that you can stop taking what's happening in the dynamic personally and allow yourself to move into being a more solid, stable, and powerful force in the relationship that can actually promote a space for real healing to occur and for the two of you to meet each other at a deeper level of intimacy that requires courage, and it requires us to show up as our best self and to do the deeper work on ourselves so that we can show up from that solid, secure place. So if this is your first time to my channel, my name's Clayton Olson, and I have a guide that I want to give you. It's called the Secure Relationship Blueprint. It is in the first comment underneath this video. So if you have anxiety or you find yourself clinging in relationship or having a fear of relationship, there's oftentimes these underlying beliefs that are present that you're not even aware of. This guide opens that up and helps you see some of these beliefs more clearly, and also a way that you can start to shift into a more secure way of being. Check it out. It's completely free, and it's just a way to take this work deeper. I'd love for you to become part of this growing community, this vibrant community of people that are dedicated to mastery in relationships and life. So subscribe to the channel if this resonates with you, and ask a question in the comments below. So as we dive into this, avoidance is typically coded by many people as a form of distance or a disinterest in relationship. And what it actually is, it's a nervous system strategy that someone developed that made sense at one time when they were little. And it often still makes sense to the person who's living inside this way of being that is in avoidant attachment. So the first insight I want to name here is that avoidants have a different reality than you do. Most likely, if you're watching this video, you're probably on the anxious side of things, and you might be in a relationship with an avoidant, and it just feels like it's wreaking havoc on your heart. You want to name that an avoidant's values of how they operate, the mechanics of relationship for them, it's just a different world. It's a different way of seeing relationship. It's almost like how a dog might see relationship versus how a cat might see relationship. It's a different nature altogether. So for many avoidant people, closeness feels like dilution, like they have to dilute themselves in order to really be in relationship. There's going to be some deep compromise that they are going to have to make to be in relationship that is going to have them trap themselves inside some small box in order to get love. So they think that love means they have to shrink, that they need to negotiate themselves away, or that they have to give up their own freedom to keep the peace in relationship. And a lot of this comes from what I'd call premature competence. Many avoidants were forced into early self-reliance. They had to become capable because there was no safe dependence available in their family system. They couldn't depend on mom or dad. So they had to learn at a very young age to take care of themselves and sometimes others long before that they should have had to. So there's a way in which they've lost their childhood because of having to move into competence and be so self-reliant. So what they confuse is being dependent on with being trapped, and depending on someone else with being weak. It's not necessarily that they're fearing love, but what they're fearing is regression, going backwards into being that helpless child who needed something in the relational system and they couldn't actually get it. So the shift happens when the avoidant starts to realize that they can actually express what they want, where they can ask for space, where they can be met by someone who can actually handle these requests, and who doesn't make them wrong or punish them, but actually can listen and they can negotiate these things from a place of emotional equanimity for the most part, something starts to shift within them. Something starts to shift where they start to see that connection doesn't necessarily erase their independence, and that they themselves have a place that they can actually fit into the relationship without having to betray themselves. So that's the first insight, is that they are living in a different reality when it comes to relationship than somebody who is secure or anxious. The second insight is that there is a freedom loop they are in, and there is grief beneath that. So avoidants tend to value freedom more than anything else. They want space to breathe, they want space to be themselves and not be consumed by other people or by the expectations of the relationship. This is a very real thing for them because they're afraid that if they get too close, they're going to lose who they truly are. What happens though in this pursuit of freedom, it often masks another layer, which is that they're not just trying to avoid people, but they're avoiding the pain of what wasn't there in relationship. Because to let someone really close for an avoidant means that now they have to touch the ache of not having had that safety before. They have to venture into a territory in which in relationship they were not able to get their needs met. And they have to walk back into that dark forest on a nervous system level as they fall in love with somebody and face the possible fear that they're not going to get their needs met again, which puts them back into contact and has them confronting these old unhealed patterns and wounds of themselves. So they try to stay in control and repeat the same loop over and over again. They get a new connection, have an early spark, there's a threat of closeness and coming into contact with this helplessness, not getting their needs met, the sadness, the grief of that. And so they withdraw and then they reset and the cycle starts again. For the avoidant, they believe that somehow being in a relationship keeps them trapped and that if they're not in relationship, they're more free. But you can see that they're actually trapped in a cycle. And so if you're an avoidant watching this video, you can probably relate to this, is that it seems like there's an illusion of freedom being outside of a relationship, but really there's still a loop that you're trapped in. And so freedom in relationship actually starts to expand when the grief that you originally felt that is locked underneath all of this starts to have room to move. When you can start to feel what was missing in your earlier life without running from it. When you can start to confront the feelings that feel terrifying to feel inside a relationship, that's when the real freedom starts to grow up. Because what we could say again is just to name this is we're not, as an avoidant, we're not avoiding people, we're avoiding the deep pain that relationship had brought in the past. And when we can stop avoiding that, we can start to enter into a new territory of being, expressing, and taking risks that we just weren't able to when we were little. And this is the deeper work that an avoidant would do, is start to confront these things. And the third insight is that there is a hidden longing that avoidants have to be deeply met and seen in relationship. So underneath all of the independence, there's a longing to be met without performance, to be loved without needing to manage, needing to fix, or needing to prove anything in relationship. And when they finally feel safe enough to be seen, safe enough to have needs in the relationship and express those things, their armor can actually soften. And the heart that's been hiding within them starts to actually come online and be seen more and more. Love begins to feel like a place where they can shape it from the inside out, something that reflects their worth back to them. Relationship becomes not a place where they're losing themselves, but a place where they start to remember that they never had to trade their autonomy for intimacy in the first place. Many avoidants that I speak to, there's a thought that if they get into a relationship with somebody, it's got to be the perfect partner because there's no power to actually change the relationship from the inside out. And so what happens is they have all of these ways of de-escalating intimacy and really high standards of who they want to be with, because underneath, they don't trust that if they get into the relationship and the person has some type of qualities or some behaviors that have them feel threatened, that they'll have any power or agency to be able to change the dynamic and ask for what they want or draw powerful boundaries that maybe inspire both people to keep transforming and change the relationship. So this is where the real skill comes in, is avoidants start to learn that they don't actually have to pick the perfect relationship. They can get into a relationship that's good enough, and they can start to make it into a great relationship by understanding the deeper relationship skills necessary to make that happen from the inside out. So the thing that I would love for you to take away from this, the invitation, is to see that avoidance is not some type of character flaw or something that needs to be demonized. It is an intelligent adaptation to a circumstance that seemed impossible, a brilliant adaptation to circumstances that felt impossible as a young child. And it is now firing in the present moment and is getting activated in dating and relationships. And with the understanding of some of these principles, one can start to move forward and do the necessary work to shift their experience of relationship, their beliefs about relationship. So if you're an avoidant watching this video, the deeper work is to start to see where this stuff comes from and start to rewrite and come up with a new operating set of beliefs of what relationship is and how you can show up and what's possible. And if you're an anxious who's in relationship with an avoidant, it's to allow this to give you some more compassion so you understand the person that you're dealing with and the game they're playing. The more secure that you can show up, the more that you can show up as a solid, stable, persistent force in their life, the more that you can invite them into confronting these aspects of themselves and doing this deeper healing work. And that can only happen if you're not walking around with an incredible amount of trigger inside of you, taking it personally, attacking them, or you're blaming them, or you're getting stuck into some type of a victim triangle where you're feeling victimized by them, or they're thinking that you're the persecutor, and it just ends up being a bunch of drama. Healing is very difficult to happen in that type of scenario. If you're in that place right now, maybe you've been in a relationship or you're in one currently and you're looking for some one-on-one professional support to help you do the deeper work and rework your relational operating system so that you can move into secure attachment. I'm going to leave a link to a coaching application in the description below. Fill that out. Let me know what's going on in your life, and I'd be happy to have a one-on-one conversation with you to learn a little bit more about what's happening and see how we can help you create what you want in the realm of love and relationships. My name's Clayton Olson. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.